Hello and welcome to episode number 8 for March 1st, 2026 of the MBLL and Manasquan Locals Only podcast. These are your hosts, Sean Waltman, Casey Terzis, and on the third mic, but number one mic in our heart, Mr. Mike Mangan. Welcome, sir.
Thanks for having me.
So this is the point where we announce the hostile takeover, not of Iran, of our podcast by the mayor of Manasquan. We have been invaded.
Listen, I'm just here to make sure that all the rules are followed, the permits are filed. I'm kidding. No, I'm grateful to be here. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, so it's been 164 days since we had Elliot on the podcast in September.
Whoops.
Yeah, one of the first rules of hyperlocal podcasts is make sure that you have a regular release date and make sure that you stick to that, or else people will tune out. Whoops is right. But hey, this is exciting. Mike, you reached out a number of times, being like, "Hey, that was fun. We need to do this again. It's important for our community." And so I'd love to, throw it over to you for a second to kind of talk through that and, what you would hope to do as we're officially having you join the podcast.
Well, then, no, thanks. And I was bugging you guys, but that's because you guys had a great idea. It was an idea that I had, around the same time, but Sean, you actually put it together, and Casey, you guys actually did it. And so when I joined on, I thought, not only did we have a great time, I really enjoyed it, but I definitely saw it as a way, not just for the stuff that I do, but for just this community to get together and talk about what's going on. And, nowadays there's so many different ways to get news. But the local news is difficult. We've got overheard in both towns, which, is a lot of rumors and a lot of gossip. And it's not just about politics. It's about everything. It's about business. It's about sports. It's about all the things that we enjoy. And so, I really just saw this as an opportunity to bring the communities together, and I'm excited about it. So first of all, I was just really glad that you guys were open to the idea, of me coming on board. So I'm excited about it. And, I'm happy to take the third mic because this is a new thing to me, but happy to be doing it. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, for sure. And sometimes it won't be the third mic. I think some of the things we should address is just the reality is that we're all busy, right? And I just recently went through a 21-day away from the house stint. 2 weeks of work, 1 week of good family stuff. But that's going to happen. And still, I think as like a service to the community, or just trying to provide local flavor to everything that we do, we want to be more consistent. But their reality is like that may not always happen. I'm going to be gone. I travel a lot, so that might happen. And having 3 is definitely going to be better than just the 2 of us. There's some logistics to work out. We were just talking. It's like, hey, I've got this Roadcaster thing that we use, and that's just I use it for work. So how does that? How do we set this up? How do we have different locations? All those types of stuff we're going to try to work through, but yeah, let's do it. Let's try to figure it out.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to start, we got a lot to catch up on. It's been 164 days, 5 months. Go over to you, Case. What's been up in the last 5 months?
I've done a lot and I've done nothing at the same time. It's more of the same, trying to run my business, which, makes scheduling really tough because I work till 9, Monday through Thursday, 9 to 9. We've been through basketball season. Every time we have a guest on this podcast, they bring something up. It's Elliot Cologne with IFC, so I joined that. Drew Clancy with Tourism Commission, so I joined that. So my schedule is getting busier and busier. Just this week, I joined the Elks Club. I've only had one tourism commission meeting. I've done little with IFC so far. We're going to get stuff going. I sit on the board for the Live Morrow Foundation, and we're just getting started up with that again. And the Elks Club, I've had lunch at twice, but I'm looking forward to getting involved in the philanthropic work there. And then just being a dad, it takes up so much of my time. Not that I'm complaining. I love every second of it, especially when it comes to the sports. But now we're going into baseball season, and my kids will be on 4 different teams between the 2 of them. And I'm coaching at least 2 of them. So I'm really looking forward to it. Really busy schedule. I've also had COVID, which made last week, as we were trying to schedule to get this back on, in the works, very difficult. And then we had a bunch of snow. So, that's been my life for the last 5 months.
Slacker.
And when we got away with you, Sean, as we went skiing into Aquatopia just for a few days to get away.
For sure. Yeah, that was awesome. We should talk about that whole February break thing. I think that's really important. You mentioned kids' life last time we had spoken. You were talking about Finn looking at different high school options. How'd that go?
So I don't remember exactly what I said, but we really left it up to Finn. We let him look at 3 different schools. Well, he could look at in ones he was interested in, but he looked at Manasquan, he looked at communications, and he looked at CBA. And we really left it up to him to choose whatever school he wanted to go to. And he did get into CBA, and he did decide to go there. So that's what he'll be attending next year.
Congratulations, Finn. That's awesome.
Yeah, he's very excited.
That's cool. How does that work? Does he have a bus that goes there? Or?
So I, from my understanding, CBA is starting this stuff really early. Like this last week, we were supposed to have a welcome meeting, which got postponed to the 11th because of the snow. But I've already signed them up for uniforms. The kid's growing like a weed. I don't know if they're going to fit by the time school starts, but we've already done uniforms and paid the deposit and signed up for the bus. And my understanding is the bus picks them up right near the post office on Abe Voorhees. So not too far for him. He's excited because he thinks CBA starts later than Manasquan. Little does he realize what time he'll be getting up for the bus until he hears this podcast.
It's B shift. Yeah,
I had that experience. I went to Mast.
Right.
So the bus that got picked up, there was a kid who went to Mast when I was there from Forked River. And I remember we used to talk about it. He was getting on the bus at 5:30 in the morning every morning to come to school. It takes some dedication when you're heading out that way. But that's why I stayed up at my dad's. So I wasn't in Manasquan a lot back then because my dad lived in Oceanport. So it was way shorter of a bus trip than down here.
Yeah, it's a big problem being one of the southernmost places in Monmouth County, and all these schools are to the north. It's you're going to have the early bus, especially if you're going to Sandy Hook.
Yeah, and yet I never forget because I went to Mass, and it was one of the best high schools in the country at the time. I think it still is, and CBA too. All of these amazing schools, to be in this area and have this opportunity to have that choice where we're able to actually to have our kids look at different high schools is amazing, and to have a great choice, even if your choice is to stay in Manasquan, it's a great choice. So that's a pretty cool thing.
It is, and we'll see. I mean, Colin. Thursday is the 4th, so they will find out for the career academies. Colin applied to high tech. We'll see. He's got to get a certain score on the test. His grades were good, and we'll see if that happens. And then he might be in the same boat. But it is challenging. I know there's a number of folks in Brielle. They're traveling to Ranney or to Trinity, and it's an early morning. And I have to say, I know this has been discussed a couple of times, but you remember being a teenager, you wanted to sleep until noon. Mm-hmm. I think the system's wrong. We put kids that typically would nap at 11 a.m. and we have them starting late, and we have these high schoolers starting way too early. And it's not reflective of the real world. Nobody gets up that early unless you're in a certain line. I mean, there are a lot of people are.
What would the solution be? I mean,
but did you guys have that conversation in high school? Because I remember having that conversation. And there were studies.
Yeah,
we would talk about there were these studies that if you sleep later, certain other nations or whatever, the kids perform better at that age. Yeah. Once you start to be those teenage years, kids want to sleep in. But they seem to work it out. I remember getting up super early, and then on Saturday you'd be able to sleep literally till noon.
Yeah,
I would routinely do that.
Right. I mean, I went to a private all boys high school as well, and I had to walk to the bus stop, which was a mile away.
Uphill both ways.
I was going to say uphill both ways. It had to have been.
But it was early, and I played sports, so I didn't get home until maybe 6, 7 o'clock at night. And then you had 6, 7. You had 3-4 hours worth of homework. Yeah. So I mean, starting later wouldn't have helped me anymore.
Yeah, I think that's probably the thing that holds it back is the sports and everything else that does happen after school. But the easy solution is flip them. Let the high schoolers start a little bit later.
Well, and there are schools that do that actually. But I run a construction company. Commercial construction is 7 to 3. And there are a lot of times when I was driving in the morning for job sites, especially early on, I would meet the crew there firsthand in the city. So I'm leaving at 5:30, getting on the road. and you drive in, and there's a first rush hour that most people I don't think know exists. That's before 9 a.m. It's the construction rush hour that is on the Parkway and Turnpike in the tunnels, and it's the rush of the construction workers getting in. It's a much faster paced rush hour, by the way. Like minimum speed is like 90 on the Parkway at that point. But anyway, what I always thought about it was that's how you stagger not everybody getting to the same place at the same time, because there is a huge amount of people who work that 7 to 3 schedule, sure. And then the 9 to 5 kind of comes in a little later, a lot heavier. But so I think they align that 7 to 3 for the same reason, but because parents can get to work, right? That's the reason you drop off. That's the idea, I think, is that parents drop the kids and then go to work.
Exactly. And I'm thinking of teenagers. So now teenagers start high school after parents are leaving from work. How many of them are going to get up and show up to school?
Yeah, good point. Good point.
True. Good point.
So, Mike, it's been a long time. It's been August since you were here. What's been going on in your world?
Gosh, August. Well, there's been, like everybody else, it feels like it's been a really long winter, right? We had a lot of snow this winter.
Which I actually, look, it's going to be gray. It's going to be cold. I like the snow. Now, it didn't help that, or it doesn't hurt that I was gone for 21
I was going to say, I think you missed the worst of it, but that's fine. No, you know what it is? I used to like the snow, and I still do. It's just around here, you know what it is? That's what it is. Like, I like snow up in Killington. Yeah. I mean, but on Main Street when we have to get bucket trucks to get it out of there, it's a pain. And everybody else has that snowstorm with the ice was such a huge deal. That was a pain in the butt. But just in general life, so business has been taken off. I'm like really excited about where my business is right now. We've been hiring a couple of new salespeople. I'm expanding into new territories, creating new partnerships, buying some property related to the business. So I started the company in 2016, and so we're like 10 years in now, and I feel like we're just hitting the stride of where I wanted to be all along. It's been a great ride, and we've been growing every year, but like it's really taken off. So work is one of the, I've just been excited to go every day, but it's like a challenge every day. And then balancing the town stuff is fun. And then, look, I mean, the town stuff it's a lot, but I love it. I love it.
I just don't know where you find the time because I do the running my own business and I do the parenting. You do both those plus make every meeting for the town. I just
but if we're gonna be friends, we're gonna know each other here for a while. You should know the truth because there's a real answer to that question. You know half of it. I don't drink, right? So that takes off like half of my nights and mornings. So I'm working a lot of times. Like last night, we went to a comedy show in town. It was awesome, Dana and I, and we went out with a couple other couples.
Who was it?
I knew you were gonna ask me that, and I can't remember. The woman just has a Netflix special. She's Feinstein. Okay. She was fantastic. It was great. But we go out and we went, and then we go back to the house. We put the kids down. We're hanging out for a little bit. And Dana and I have this thing every now and then. It's not every Saturday night, but like I'll have my computer up. She'll have her phone up. She'll be doing something. And so last night I was working on the new Borough app that's going to be launching out. Like that's my hobby. So like instead of being on my phone, because that's the other half of it. So I don't drink and I don't follow sports the way most guys my age do. So that gives me a lot of time. Like, and I mean that like sincerely. When I'm at home at night, instead of checking sports scores, I'm doing that kind of stuff. So that's how I fit that in. And then also have my own business. You have to be in session. You have to actually be
engaged,
like literally on the clock. I'm lucky enough where I can come and go, and so like I get my meetings done during the day. But the biggest part that we all can relate to is the family stuff, because I feel like everybody has everyone says the same thing. Like, how do you find the time? It's just my biggest hobby, right? It's if you look at it that way, it kind of makes sense. It's like the thing that I do the most. But I still have all the family stuff. We still have all the sports. My kids play a little bit less sports than your guys, so I get a little break there. But all the same stuff. And through circumstances, we have my sister's kids are staying with us. They've been staying with us since December. So instead of 3 kids in the house, we have 5 since December 12th.
Has that helped or hurt?
It's both. Okay. It's been a challenge. But so Dana and I talked about this, and what I love about it is that our kids get to experience a different portion of their life. It's only for a little bit. It's temporary. So, that they have to get a little disruption, a little uncomfortable. And like I was always taught that growth comes from when you're uncomfortable. So, I think it's good for everybody. But so that's been crazy, but fun. And then we got away for February break, went down to Florida, but then everyone got the stomach bug. So that was not fun.
Everyone got sick.
It has awful. Been, I don't know what it is. This year, I mean, our Christmas, we had, I got to go to your place, which was a great Christmas Eve. Jen had COVID. Colin got the flu, and then it just never stopped. And I feel like that everybody you talk to, and it's like Colin just had the stomach bug, and I had the flu. Like a bad year.
I'm averaging like 6 cancellations a week because of people being sick. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, I feel like it's been higher than usual. I feel, but
interesting. Well, the one, well, first of all, got to comment on that. So not drinking. That's what rum is the reason that pirates never ruled the world, right? Like that is, I guess the secret. And as you say that, I'm going to pour myself another drink.
Go for
here.
it, please.
But talked about the cold, and I remember we were looking at pictures back from 2010. Big blizzard up at the beach. I was at my grandfather's, and they were dumping the snow front end loaders into the inlet because what else could you do? Mm-hmm. I mean, we had snow drifts that were. I think we actually it's crazy. Freehold got 26 inches. We got 14, 18 or something like that. It was bad, but it wasn't as bad as it could have been. But tell me a little bit about the logistics there when you have that type of a storm and DPW and all that.
Yeah, the challenge there is this one. These first couple of ones was salt availability, and because there was just everybody was stockpiling it in the big cities. So, but we got it eventually. That was a big thing. But then the bigger stuff is making sure all your equipment's ready. I know that it's really boring, but it's true. I got a picture the day before the big snow event from our DPW chief of all the trucks. Actually, I think I actually posted it, but of all the trucks lined up, with the plows on, because they have to attach the plows. So there's a lot of manual labor that goes into prepping for the storm, and then there's the labor itself of actually getting the storm done. And I say labor; these guys are they're people out there working their butts off, and they're working really long hours. So staggering the brakes, trying to get that kind of stuff, and then the public, managing the public is always fun. This one was the first one that we had with all the ice. That was unlike anything that I've ever seen where, it snowed and then it iced over. And people, I felt like I had half the town who wanted the other half of the town ticketed for not getting their sidewalks clear or this happening. And, then those people saying, look, there's nothing I can do. And, because there's a lot of seniors and it's just, it was rough.
Yeah. I mean, we know that the ordinance is there. And the intention is obviously to get the sidewalks cleared. Personally, Casey and I went up to help my parents and my aunt, because, they're septuagenarians and they're not
don't live in the state.
Don't live in the state at this point in time, but you don't want them to get that ticket. But man,
it was grueling.
I mean, I brought the snowblower up there. It was basically useless. It was plowed, but I can't blame people oh, they plowed me in. I'm like, well, where do you want them to put?
That was a really frustrating one when people are they plowed in my driveway. I'm like, I don't know what they're supposed to do with it. But did you guys see the text that went out by accident?
I wasn't there, but I did, yeah.
So a text went out that said if you don't have the snow cleared by, it was either Friday or Monday, I forget what it was of that week, that you were going to get ticketed. And I forget where I was at work, and I got this text message. This is not how this is supposed to go, right? I'm supposed to be in the loop on these decisions, and I get this text message on my phone just like everybody else. Not only was I not in the loop on the decision to send out the text, but the content of the text was completely contrary to what I had said and the council members had said. So, how the heck did this happen? And it's one of those things that it was unintentional, but, I kind of posted on this. It was a mistake by a staff member who misinterpreted this woman who's worked for the borough for a very long time. It was an honest, and it sounds crazy, but because you had conspiracy theory people, oh, someone was doing this or, this because of the complaints. And it was no. Someone legit made a mistake. And it took us, my upset part was that it took us 12 hours to correct it. But this stuff happens in government, and sometimes people are looking for the boogeyman and it's not there. In this case, people are oh, well, I knew you really were going to ticket everyone. No, we weren't. We absolutely weren't.
What is the ordinance and what is the expectation?
So the ordinance was written funny. It's you have to clear the snow on your sidewalk within 16 hours of daylight from the end of the snowfall.
Unless it's the third moon.
Yeah. I was waiting for something like that. So 16 hours of daylight after the snowfall. So you're basically supposed to have 2 days to clear it. But we actually talked about updating it. We might or we might not. And the reason I'm saying that is because the biggest thing I reminded everybody is it just snows a lot less than it used to. We had 2 really big storms, but that was the biggest storm we'd had in 10, 15 years or something. Mm-hmm. And then people saying, well, you need bigger equipment. We should have more. Yeah. To maintain all that stuff for a decade, once in a decade storm is a lot more complicated than people think. So I don't know. We may change it. We may not.
I don't know. I thought the DPW did a great job.
They did fantastic. They were unbelievable. They did great. No, I mean, they do a lot with little. I mean, they have a small department, small number of trucks, and they do a great job.
People don't realize, I mean, like I said, I lived in Virginia for 14 years, and in Virginia, there's no DPW per town. It's the state DOT.
That's right.
I was going through, chemo treatments, and it was my street was not a priority.
Yeah.
Right? And so, that was it. And so people don't realize like how good we have it here. I mean, this last storm, we had a blizzard on Monday. I drove out of here on Tuesday. Roads were completely clear. Obviously a little bit different than the ice one, but amazing amount of road clearing throughout the state, and not just at the local level. So, I mean, people really don't understand how good they have.
Can I
here in New Jersey.
nerd out on that point for a second real quick? Because that point about DPW being run by the states is something I actually talk about a lot. Because in New Jersey, people say, how come property taxes are so high? And I'm not defending that, because we try and keep them as low as we can in Manasquan. But in general, the answer is stuff like that. Yeah. Is that when you have people living this close together, which is what we have, like the highest density, you got to have things like really hyper local public works departments. That's a lot of trucks. It's a lot of plows. It's a lot of those kinds of things.
Well, and prior to the salt deduction being drastically reduced, it was a no-brainer move. When we came back, I'm like, yeah, our property taxes are higher, but like I'm not waiting a week to get out of my house. And Virginia drove me nuts because they're like, oh, we're a southern state. And I'm like, look, there's parts of Virginia that are further north than Cape May, which is a weird thing to think about, but actually open up Google Earth, take a look at it. Like, and where we lived in Virginia was there. And it's like, we're in the mountains. Guys, it snows here. Don't tell me that it doesn't. And it's like, well, we got to wait for the state DOT. And guess what? State DOT is not coming down to your street until the very end. Yeah. But there's some positives of it. First time in how many years that Max Pond was open?
14
years.
Yeah, that was fun to open that. That was a good time.
Local artist made his way there.
Yeah. Yeah, I did.
Did you not see this, Sean?
No.
There was a local artist who put a little graffiti in the ice, we'll say.
Oh.
I'll tell you this, guys, because I know who it was. I heard through the kids who it was.
Oh, really?
And so I'm not going to say, but the mother of this child is walking down the banks of the pond, and I'm standing there, and she goes, "Oh my goodness, look at that in the middle of the pond." And I just look at her, I go, "How about that?" And I sat quietly for a second, and she figured it out. She goes, "No." I said, "Oh yes." I said, "That was your guy."
Oh man, no, I'm sorry that I missed that. Like that was awesome. I mean, just the fact that it's been so long, and people came out to it, and you put lights up.
Yeah, well, that was immediately. I want to thank OEM and the fire department, but that's one of the cool things about living in a small town like this is stuff like that where everybody gets excited. As a matter of fact, I had the Public Works and the OEM guy both kind of call me out on my level of excitement about this. And they're like, "You're like really excited." I'm like, "Guys, I remember doing this as a kid. We got to get the lights up." And it was actually Billy Junko, who was a councilman years ago, and I think he lives in Brielle.
Yeah, it's Brielle. Yep.
He was the one who posted on, I think, my page on Facebook when I posted. He's like, OEM brought the lights last time, and I immediately screenshotted that and sent it over to the team. I was like, "Guys, we got to have lights." So, and they put it together. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, and that's one of those like unstructured, but like you're keeping that tradition alive, and people loved it.
A lot of people showed up.
Yeah, it was cool. It was cool.
Cool. Yeah. So for me, let's see. End of the year last year was just nuts. Talk about business. It was just, this is a once in a generation time in tech when it comes to AI, and we've just got so much going on there, and. Thanks to Jen, she was like a trooper, even getting sick with COVID. I mean, it was up to past Christmas, like getting some like major deals in place, and pretty important in light of what's going on in Iran right now, because it's all tied to this defense and what we're calling Earth AI. So it's just been a very, very busy time for me, and then that took me on the road quite a bit. Did have a great break finally in February. It was crazy. I was in California and Vegas, and then flew red eye from Vegas from our kickoff to Newark. Jen had a pack for the kids. The kids couldn't decide. They were like, "We want to go to something tropical." All right, so we want to go to the Caribbean. We went to Atlantis, and then Colin's like, "Nope, I want to ski." And it's like, okay, well, we'll just do both. And so Jen had a pack for us to be able to do. Go to the Caribbean and then have a separate, all the skis and everything else like ready to go to meet Casey and Nicole. And so, hey, look, just rolled with it. Landed in the Bahamas that Friday. So it was like, took a red eye from Vegas, flew to the Bahamas. It's great when you fly to the Bahamas and everybody on the ground crew is wearing, ski caps and winter coats. We had just missed their coldest day ever in the Bahamas. I guess that was a couple days earlier, but the first couple days were pretty chilly, and that's not what you want when you're going for the sun. It is what you want when you come back and you're going skiing, and I mean the skiing this year has been phenomenal. Just in the Poconos and everything like that. So yeah, that was great. That was like the first real break for me since the summer. Yeah, and it was good. Now that Jack was there with Nolan, getting them up on the mountain. Casey and I hadn't skied in how many years? 20-something years
together.
Yeah,
at least 20-something.
Yeah,
25 maybe.
We used to roll with we called it squan surf and ski, and we used to roll with 25
to 30
people. Sometimes it got up to 40 people.
That's cool.
We would go all together, and we'd get group tickets, and basically this.
I was always on family trips skiing when I was a kid, so it was always just me and my family would go up to Vermont, and because it was my dad's family. So my mom, who was here in town, she didn't ski, so but I skied all growing up, and I can't get my boys into it. I just can't.
My kids have just gotten into it in the last 3 years or so.
I said that to Dana. I said they will when they're older. I said that I think they're just too young.
It takes there's a breakthrough point, and I'll tell you, like Nolan was very apprehensive, and we kept putting him in ski school, and then he started to hate it, and it's like, well, yeah, because you're sitting on the same damn slope the entire day, and it took up over MLK, and his cousin who's a year younger, he's like, looks at the top of the mountain, he's like, that's not that high, let's go, and then Nolan was like, the peer pressure, right? And so all of a sudden, he's pretty good. But there's a point where you have to just it's just reps, just like anything else.
I told Will, skiing is horrible until it's fun, until you're good at it. Until you're a decent level. There's to your point, there's a point when you hit it and you're like, oh, I get it now. Up until that point, it's not fun.
And the earlier you can get out there, the better.
Yeah.
Lot less far to fall.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, and all the ski programs do a really good job. I tried actually to get our rec department here in Brielle to do it, and because when I was in Bridgewater, 6 weeks a year, you'd show up at the field house, get on a bus. It started as 2 buses, then it was 6 buses, then it was 12 buses we were bringing from Bridgewater every weekend up to Shawnee. It was only a 45-minute ride, and that was awesome. And it was cheap. It was $100-something bucks. So I started probably in July reaching out to Shawnee and Blue Mountain and Camelback and all the stuff in the Poconos and being like, hey, do you guys still do this? Well, first of all, those guys, they're on summer mode. They're not even paying attention to any of the ski stuff. So I finally started to get calls back in August and maybe into September. And Shawnee was like, yeah, ever since COVID, we don't need the money. People wanted to get out. They wanted to be outside. So they're packed. They don't need it. They're like, we do night skiing. And I'm like, yeah, that's not really the right setup for young kids, that want to get into it. And then, the rest of them, kind of were just same story, which is a shame. But I did think initially, I was like, Brielle Rec is pretty much, volunteer led and everything like that. And I was like, I should probably structure this and go talk to Eric in Manasquan. So, hey, Mike, how's it going? Let's talk a little bit about Rec in Manasquan.
Nice segue, Sean. My first episode. Well, so obviously, I kind of skipped over that part in my summation, right, of what the last
165 days.
165 days, but that happened. So the town council voted to eliminate the position. And there was a small group of people who made a big deal out of a couple of small things. And the way I look at it is this. I've been doing this in one form or another for about the past 20 years. I have dealt with so many public employment issues. I couldn't remember them all. And I think somewhere along the way, this small group of people had themselves convinced and were trying to convince everyone else that this was something other than an employment issue, meaning an issue between their employer and employee. So just to explain, the amount of times that we've made adjustments to people's positions, we've eliminated positions, we've done all kinds of things over the years. The reason no one hears anything about it isn't because of the uniqueness of this situation, other than the employees don't typically want to talk about it publicly. Think about it. If you were having an issue with your employer, would you want that to go public, so to speak?
Sure.
And, the council and I are very restrained when we talk about these things, and I'll be here too, because it's not appropriate, right?
So these are people's lives.
Right. And then that's the point, right? Yeah. When I was asked, how come you're not saying more? I said, because this is not the forum for that. Sure. We don't do that here. And, they said, how come you put it on the consent agenda? That was a big thing in the beginning. We just listed it in the consent agenda, and there was a lot of kind of accusations that we were trying to bury it. And what people didn't understand in that little circle, they had themselves convinced, was we do that out of respect for the employee. The idea that we would kind of separate out that type of an item and like put it in bold at the top is just not how we do things, out of respect for the employee. So I was upset that the town got dragged through what I think it was ultimately a personnel issue, because Manasquan didn't change its recreation goals. It didn't change the strategy. We have the same number of programs. We have the same number of participants. We're continuing to grow. And the truth is that council and I, as elected leaders of the town, we have a job to look at, and it is the truth, whether people believe it or not. Since I got elected, we took a fresh look. It's not the first time I've done it. We've done audits of departments over the years many times. But when I got elected, we have kind of a new council, and everyone said, look, we want to look at every single department. And we've been going through that process. Code and construction had a major restructure right before this. Again, all these were on the consent agenda, made changes to titles, responsibility, and no one said anything because it was just dealt with. But in this case, the long and short of it is that the analysis showed that we didn't need the position to continue offering the level of services that we have.
All right. So let's take a step back, because your first episode here, one of the highlights of that episode was talking about the success of Manasquan Rec, right? And I actually took a lot from that, and actually was listening to it the next day, like I was listening to us afterwards, and I was like, yeah, that's really a really strong point that. And you can tell me exactly what the numbers were, but like it was deficit, then it was plus 600,000, something in that range. And I'm like, well, that really kind of shows that you kind of need to have this as a paid position. And that was kind of your argument. And then damned if I'm watching the second meeting and my wife is listening, Jen's listening, and they're like, and on this local Brielle and Manasquan podcast. And I'm like, oh no, we're getting muck raked here. But seriously, I have a disconnect in my mind, because you were so strong about how important it was to have an organized rec and turn it into a profit center.
No, and I think that was one of the misunderstandings that this group, again, it became over personalized about one position. The reality is that the paid rec model is still very much in place in Manasquan. We had our total rec salaries was somewhere in the neighborhood of, it was like $300,000. So this is one position out of that group of salaries and wages that isn't going to be there anymore. But that's the thing, is that we realized, and part of it is just the way that the rec program evolved. And I talked about that a lot, is that the rec program evolved to a point where you have public-private partnerships, which is, by the way, so that revenue, mostly is made up of those public-private partnerships. So the expansion of Manasquan Rec over the last 10 years is in participant numbers, but the dollar numbers are mostly about these public-private partnerships. Those run themselves, more or less. They're basically renting space from us, and then they run their organization, and we take a cut. And then you have your core programs, which were never run by this position. They were always run by the other guy in rec. I don't get into names and stuff, but the other person who helps run rec has always run those positions. He's still doing that, running the core programs. So the big change that everyone was concerned about really was about special events, and in particular the tug of war, but then a couple other things. There are 6 special events in Manasquan that are done every year. And what are they? What's that?
What are they?
So you have the tug of war, you have the Thanksgiving Day parade, which I talked about on the podcast. You have the East-West game, or the Warrior for a Day.
Let's see.
And you have the beach local summer picnic, and I'm gonna have to come back to some of them, because off the top of my head. But so you have these core events. I'm trying to think of what the other one was. There's one more I'm missing. Big C Day. So when you look at these events, what we did as a mayor and council was look at, we have this volunteer committee. It's 15 members, and we have people like knocking down the door to get into this group to help run rec. And this has been true for years. We have people who didn't make it on.
It's been true for years, but you did specifically call out the fact that wasn't the case.
Let me be clear though. So again, it's a shift in ideology about what volunteers do. So, and we did talk about this in the podcast too, in a different section actually, about empowering volunteers. Yep. And we talked about how you have to have the paid staff behind the scenes so that people can volunteer. So what changed is that people would not volunteer to run the program, but they will volunteer to come to a meeting once a month and talk about the department as a whole and give some advice and feedback, and maybe serve on one subcommittee is mostly what you can get out of people these days, and that's fine.
Careful, Casey's going to join.
So what we did was we pitched to the rec committee. So while all this employment stuff was going on, we also had complaints from the rec committee that they didn't have a role, that they didn't feel that they had a role, that the paid staff had kind of taken over to the point where there was no spot for these volunteers who had stepped up, the ones who did want to give their time to help and provide some feedback about things like transparency over the calendar for the field house and for the other facilities we have, and being able to publicly schedule and look at who's using what and being just more transparent as a program. So a lot of those complaints from the volunteer committee were going on for years, and they were kind of just circulating because we had a model that really didn't support any of that stuff because the volunteers weren't empowered. The staff was doing everything. And so as part of this process, as part of looking at revamping this, the volunteers are stepping in on the special events. So what we did is we pitched them that these events are annual events. They can change, but they don't usually change. You usually have the exact same thing that you're doing. Thanksgiving Day Parade is a one-page, piece of paper with some memos. Everybody kind of knows where they're going. But the idea was to take that committee, just like tourism does. When you join tourism, I think you only went to one meeting, so you haven't been pinned down on a subcommittee yet, but you will be. So what will happen is Casey will be asked to serve on an event, and that's what tourism does. They run all the events. So we're going to basically duplicate that model for recreation. Coincidence, awesome story. I love this part of it. The committee itself doesn't know this. They'll find this out tomorrow night. But we put a survey out to the committee with all those 6 events listed and asked people who wanted to chair the committee and who wanted to serve on these committees. And we got, I only got 13 of the 16 responses so far. And we have a chair for every committee, and we have members of every committee, and it just worked that way out. So that's going to be the big change that people are going to see going forward, is you're going to see volunteers step up to organize those events. But it's still the public works, police, recreation staff below that'll actually execute this stuff. So that's the point. Like, you couldn't get those big events anymore if you didn't have the paid staff on the ground. The question of whether or not you needed this umbrella position is I think what the council answered in a different way and said, look, I don't think we need that umbrella position. We can still get all of this other stuff done.
Okay. And then what about those big events like the tug of war? There was quite a bit of kerfuffle there, huh?
The tug. Yeah. So, I mean, we had, again, this is a story of something that normally happens in private that someone decided to make public, and that's fine. But we have people who run events all the time who come to us and say, hey, we want to run this or we want to run that. We have the wiffle ball down on the beach.
Stomp the monster.
All this kind of stuff that happens all the time. In this case, it was a rec member who came to us and said, hey, I want to run this tug of war. It was his idea. He brought the sponsors to the table. He organized the whole thing, and he put a committee together that originally was completely separate from rec. Now, obviously, in the beginning, the money was going to go to rec, but he ran it on the outside. And so the truth of this story is that over the years, it's become more difficult. And then last year, 2 big sponsors pulled out. And so the fundraising became more difficult, and it just was more of a challenge. And so this individual, it had been rumored all year last year that this was going to be the last year he was going to run it. We had the event. It went great, even though we lost. And that Monday, the following Monday, I sat down with him at Green Planet, and I said, so what's the future of the tug? And he said, I don't know, but I'm out.
Okay.
And I say that because I don't know I know that some people think that they really want to see that there's more of a consequence to what the council did here than there is. The reality is this. We have 3 people, actually. We haven't even picked a tug chairman yet because there are 3 people who are interested in doing it, and a whole bunch of people who have signed up for the committee. So we're moving forward with the tug. We've talked to Point Pleasant about it. They made this announcement that the tug was over because he decided he was done doing it, and they control the Facebook page. So I guess that's what he decided to do on a Friday afternoon. That's fine. That's his right. But the truth is we're moving on with the tug. We're going to keep it.
Oh, wow. I had no idea. That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So you talked about the app you guys are developing. What are we going to be able to see on that, and when do we expect it to come out?
That'll be a few months from now. It's actually the next newsletter is the time we're targeting for the launch of it. I've been working on it for like 6 months now, so I'm nearing the end.
What kind of information are we going to be able to see?
That's definitely the calendar of events, contacts, things that the town is doing in terms of the committees and commissions, all the stuff that the events that those guys are doing, and then public safety stuff and news and alerts, that kind of stuff. So
how about field house schedule, rec stuff?
So right now we're in the process of trying to. So if anyone is on Community Pass, you can actually go on right now and see we're on the version 1 of this. Again, this was part of that commitment of transparency. You can go into and right now through Community Pass, you can see all the events that are scheduled at all the town facilities. So we have 100% public visibility into what is scheduled at all of our facilities now already. But it is not a great format. So that's just version 1 to get the information out there. We're trying to work with the technology companies to basically tie that all together to make it easier. So right now, version 1 of the app may not have that because it's on Community Pass, and I'm trying to get them to talk to each other.
Do you ever talk to Michael Bonner?
I have talked to Mike, yeah.
Yeah, he's right next to you. GovPilot. Yeah, Manasquan. He's right next to you. Like literally, like he's like your neighbor at your office.
In my office.
Yeah.
I thought you meant my house.
They're like a premier. They're not like the premier government technology assistant company. They're phenomenal at what they do. It's a little different. They're not in the app world. They're going to be getting in the app world, but they're not quite there yet.
Yeah. So what's the tech and why a dedicated app versus like a web page?
Well, I mean, apps is where people are at these days. I just feel like the web page is getting used less and less. And yeah, you can have a mobile friendly version, but I just felt like, first of all, the apps are cheap to develop and they're really, really easy to develop. So I just felt like it was another way to talk to people, another way to get the information out and hit new people into town because like it'll have a map, with information on like where stuff, that may sound silly, but like where all the parks are in town, where all the shops are, you'll be able to click on that contact information. So if you want to reach out to the mayor, you want to reach out to, the Chamber of Commerce, you just click on it, it goes right from your phone into the text message. So it's just like more, it's more of a seamless operation than your typical website.
I just remembered that I signed up for pickleball and I haven't been once. You asked me to sign up.
I did?
Yeah, you and Bobby with the pickleball.
Oh, I was just relaying a text from Bobby. Yeah, I knew I wasn't going to.
It's March.
Do you guys play still?
I've played once, and that was during COVID.
Okay. So this is coming up, and I was. It's a kind of an open question about do we build outdoor pickleball courts in Manasquan is going to be coming up in the next couple of months because that open space tax pass that we talked about last time.
Yes.
So that project that I talked about, we're going to do that, and the question is. Yes or no to pickleball, and if so, how many outdoor courts down there?
Where would you put them?
Down by the Little League fields.
Okay, so right now they're playing at the Little League, the hockey rink right there. So where would you put it at the fields?
So we'd redo the hockey rink where it is now. Okay, so upgrade the backboards and all, and make that a functioning hockey rink again. That's the concept.
Is it not functioning right now?
Well, the backboards suck, and the surface needs to be redone. So
okay.
it functions. I mean, people use it, but it's not in any kind of competition.
Only we knew a floor guy.
Well, I don't actually do hockey. I don't actually do any of the surfaces I'm about to talk about. Just to be clear. And then the skateboard park.
Right.
I want to redo that, make it smaller. So because the ones that I've looked at that are basically made out of concrete that are better for beginners and you can kind of advance along, they're way tighter. They're way more compact. You don't need the square footage that we have. So if you imagine the north end of the skateboard park kind of chopped off, you know where that little cul-de-sac is that you turn around? Mm-hmm. Basically that area would be where pickleball courts would go if we're going to build them, is the idea.
Can you imagine us in the 90s being like, yeah, let's get rid of all the skate parks, put in pickleball?
Well, so we're not getting rid of it, right? We want to get a better one. But yeah. And that is going to be really expensive. This parks and recreation stuff is so expensive.
Yeah. It's a liability.
Unbelievably expensive.
We had to replace the entire playground, and it was like hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars because you have to have the surfaces, you have to have that stuff, and it's just. Yeah.
But having stuff like that is what makes a town a town. Too,
oh yeah, for sure. Yeah,
it's why people were up in arms with the fence over near the water tower.
I don't remember that.
You don't remember?
I don't know what you're talking about.
We will have Brian on very soon.
Yeah, Brian can bring it up again. I'm sure he will.
So that's interesting on the field house and the app. So is this app exclusive to Manasquan residents?
No, anybody will be able to get it. But for right now, you can get the schedule. Right now, you can get the schedule. And listen,
a field house access is, even though, and I know you don't control the fact of the Board of Ed, but we're paying $23,000 a student next year from Brielle to go to Manasquan, and it says that we're not access to the field. We don't have access to the field house at night.
Yeah.
You guys have access to everything in Manasquan.
No. If you look at the actual, maybe that's.
I'm not, because I thought it was sending district kids.
Well, it does not. Okay, that'd be fantastic if it is, because right now it's
you mean for like open turf?
Open turf.
So I think I'd have to double check that. I'll double check that. I think it was sending district kids. I think it's wall kids that we're having a problem with. I'm not kidding.
We had kids from Neptune in there too.
And by the way, a new version of that is coming soon. Kufo's put together the Youth Advisory Council. So Finn's on it.
He loves
what
being
is
on
this
council.
He
so
loves it. This has been way more fun than I ever thought it was going to be. 14 kids.
I think it's way more fun than Finn ever thought it was.
All of them. My son is on it, and he's like, "Dad, I'm actually enjoying it." Like, well, he's like, "I thought I was going to be embarrassed." And
all right, tell us more.
No, so I started a youth advisory council, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, and I just put it out there to the schools, and 14 kids applied. I accepted all of them for the first year. Oh, they didn't know that, but anyway. Well, because I wasn't sure how big it was going to be, and I got all these applications. I was like, why not? Let's just do this. This is awesome. And we're getting together monthly, and They submitted, so part of the application process was they had to submit 3 ideas for things that they want to see improved in town.
What was the most outlandish one that you saw?
The most outlandish. There wasn't so much outlandish ones. You know what? That actually was what was so impressive, is that they were all like
Tight
really,
ideas,
that. You know what, Sean? Actually, that was what was so impressive. Is like every one of them was like, you know what? We might actually be able to do this, or this is a really good idea. The one that I like the best that I think we're gonna see it to go to fruition. And I don't know. I just kind of told the parents this. I had this plan all along where we were going to meet and we were going to circulate all these issues. We're going to form committees. They're going to work on them. We're going to rise 3 or 5 of them to the top. And then their last one is going to be presenting these to council, and we're going to implement them. But so the one that I know is going to happen, because it's just such a great idea, is they want to make signs that go in the parks that say clean up after yourselves. But the whole concept is this, and this is the brilliance, right? 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. They said what'll be great about it is if we make them, they don't want to make them big, just regular signs, but made by 6th graders, like by hand, so that you can say like, hey, this is where I play, please clean up after yourselves. And it'll have more of an impact on people because it'll be handmade by a middle schooler. And I was like, wow. That's a fantastic idea.
That's a great idea.
So we're going to do a contest, and we'll have them submit like 3 or 5, and then we'll put them up in the parks.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love the civil-mindedness.
So
like
cool.
That young, they're into it.
Well, that's when I got hooked, Sean. That's why.
Yeah,
6th grade is when I got hooked.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I can see it happening to Finn. He's just super interested. He comes home very excited about all the ideas that you guys have talked about, the skate park, and he's really enjoying it.
So we have, so MBLL is very well structured. They have a 501c3, so you can donate to them. And if you have an employee backing plan, like I do, recommend doing that so that we can get more and more money into the system. We have a couple of topics that are going on. One is that they want lights there, and there's a lot of engineering that needs to be done because of where it's located. The one that I'm spearheading is trying to actually get a permanent GameChanger camera installed on both the baseball and the softball field. So we're at the point now where GameChanger is, because GameChanger's model, they're owned by Dick's Sporting Goods, they are subsidizing some installation costs because they sell a subscription. So like basically everybody can access it. It's free. But if you want to be able to watch your grandson's, highlights or something like that, then you pay the subscription. So GameChanger is building a business around there. I've been doing this since Casey and I were on the Scrappers. During
Our kids were on the Scrappers we were coaching.
That's true. Well,
Luke Dowd.
Yeah, Luke Dowd was Luke Dowd's team. And GameChanger came out, and it allowed you to put a phone, behind the backstop, and you could stream it. And think about during COVID, like some people weren't going outside. Mm-hmm. Our parents are down in Florida, and so to be able to log in and see your kids playing baseball, your grandkids playing baseball is awesome. The problem is I travel now. Like COVID was amazing. The entire season I was here, and now I travel, and I'd like to be able to log in and watch that. So I want permanent cameras installed, and a lot of parents do too. And actually, I've got a number of donations. Google's going to match it, which is pretty awesome. But now we just have to figure this out. They just got internet at the facility. But there's some subscriptions that are associated with it because the camera systems, they need maintenance, and I don't want to be tech support. I don't want to be the one that gets called while I'm in, Miami and be like, Sean, the stream's not working.
That's going to happen, right?
No, I know that can't happen. Like I have to be able to walk away from this. Yeah. But I think those types of improvements would be amazing for that.
So I think GameChanger is great. I got to ask about the lights though.
Yeah.
So there's a high cost to those lights.
Sure.
And my question to the person who pitched it, because they technically need town permission to do this, and my question, which isn't related to whether or not the town gives permission, is Little League really going to spend this much money for, like, has anyone done the ROI on number of hours, like cost per hour because I say we because my kids play Little League, so
sure.
I'm on that side of the fence here going, and they're like, no, it's absolutely worth it. Do you guys feel that way?
I would love to have lights up there.
Okay.
Whether it's worth the cost, I'd have
Have
to
you
look
heard
at
how
numbers.
much they
I have no idea how much
I'm
they
answering
are.
this in two ways. One is like I would love it too, but like what's the ROI on that? Because honestly, like most kids are spent by the time it gets dark, even in June. Little kids, I'm talking about. Yeah.
Well, depending on how little my kids, they'd play forever.
I think the dollar amount matters, and I don't know that we can say it, but and that's the problem. It's a very, very high dollar amount. It's like a lot of money.
Is it for the lights itself, or it's like the
I actually don't know, but I think it's everything. And the other reason is because if we do the hockey rink down there, and that's why I talked to Little League. I said, look, if everybody's going to be putting in lights, so to speak, it wouldn't make sense for us to do them separately. We should do it together. So we're going to be meeting on that, and I just still have this kind of nagging thing in the back of my mind, and I feel like a lot of older people in town, and some maybe not older, but some people on the council may have that kind of exact question of like, what are we, are we getting the bang for our buck here?
Well, it's a quality of life issue too.
Yeah. Well, although they're so much better now, I can defend that argument.
Okay.
I really can. The lighting, the ability to what do they call it? Angle or shade the light from the neighbors is so much better than it was for the ones that are even there now. So, but in general, you got noise. You're going to have things going on later. So.
So what about the high school? I mean, that was a long time conversation too, right?
Yeah, but they haven't done that. They haven't pushed that. So I don't know.
Do we have lights at the turf field?
No.
I didn't think so.
They have conduits. I don't know if everybody knows that, but the original project, they put in the conduits and the base for the poles are there.
It is different when you have a dense area like this. I mean, like in Bridgewater, they had lights because, eventually because it was in the middle of like nowhere, and here it's somebody's backyard, and I'm sympathetic to both sides.
I would assume it would affect the people across the water the most.
That was always the people who were affected most by Little League, especially because the wind generally blows off the water, and so you're getting you don't realize sometimes you're on Ocean Avenue, you can hear people talking on the Little League field because it just travels right across that water. But for me, it's just as a Little League member paying person, I just, you look at it and go, it's a lot of money that's going to be paid for over a long period of time. It's a big commitment. So, but if they think they're going to use it, and like I said to them, I'll advocate for it.
It's going to come down to numbers. Okay. But sure. MBLL is probably, if not my favorite thing about this town. I love the rec program for MBLL.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's all volunteers. The fact that like dads are waking up, putting sandbags and whatever they're doing to try to dry a field so that we can keep the schedule in place. I mean, like the impact that it has on everybody's life, because you're running your calendar, right? It's like, are we going to have the game? Or are we not? And there's people waking up super early, cutting the lawn. Rob Kilbride,
Bob Manning,
Manning, going out there, and they're literally like sopping towels on the field so the kids can play baseball, which is pretty incredible.
Baseball's just my favorite thing. So,
what do you think of this championship that's coming up? I guess it's going to be in the world. It's going to be in the Olympics, right? So, I guess there's this new event. I'm going to a game in Miami. I'm going to the fantastic Venezuela versus Israel game in Miami next week.
Oh, that should be a close one.
Yeah. How do you even bet on that? I don't know. Apparently, so that's the game that's in Miami, and we're playing Great Britain in Houston that night. So so you're not tracking that. You're not tracking the international baseball scene.
I mean, they have it every year. You're talking about something new?
This is the classic, but it's like it's going because it's going to be in the Olympics, is my understanding.
I wasn't aware it was going to be in the Olympics.
Yeah. You know what else is squash?
Really?
Yeah, and I happen to build squash courts, so
okay.
I'm kind of excited about it.
Did you guys watch this past Olympics?
Yeah, definitely watched all the hockey.
Yeah,
I had. First of all, the hockey was amazing.
Yes. It was unbelievable.
I had the song bug, and I got together with people afterwards, and like, how was your week last week? I was like, I can tell you anything about curling that you want to know because I watched like 6 hours a day while I was sick. I got so into curling. It was like I was fascinated by that. I was just fascinated.
But I mean, the hockey. You were at Leggetts, right?
Yes.
You sent me the video. That was awesome.
That's a special place. I mean, I was sending it to my other friends that, they're all across the country, Texas, Phoenix, and they've been here, actually. Some of them have been here through work, and they're like, that's a special place. And it's a very special place. And be there, and when that happens, and that energy, and the USA, that doesn't happen across this entire country. There's a lot of Applebee's and places that are not as exciting as what we have here in town. So yeah, shout out to Leggetts for opening up at 8 a.m. for the gold medal game, which is like, it's a generational thing. I was too young to watch.
But it's not
Lake Placid.
It's not a little.
You weren't alive. It was 80.
Yeah,
it's not a little thing to blow past though. The point that you just made about the things that make this area special.
Yeah.
Because like that's one of them where like bar owners and managers and bartenders, like I'm sure there was a group text the night before. There's like, guys, we're doing this, right? Like, you know, there whenever before, you know, and it was like, there's no question. Of course we're doing it.
Not only doing it, but like probably had a hard time putting staff together because Hector's running food out of.
Yeah. And then, you know, someone played was it them who queued up God Bless America?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, it was just great. It was iconic. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
That was a moment, right after Sandy, when we had not yet had a beach opening party. That's one of the tourism events now. It was my idea, but we had this big group of people that put it together of let's go down to Leggetts and kick off the beach season, and like it's turned into one of this really fun events because like there's just a feeling in that room that is different than anywhere else.
I think it's because you don't have the high turnover on staff. Like they know you. You know, my mom always says it's like Cheers. It's like everyone knows your name. You know, like my mom like taught Jerry's nieces at some point, and like that's just the thing, you know.
Then it's been there forever, and
the amount
you've grown up there.
Yeah,
you know, very different experiences throughout life.
The amount of people not from here who know Leggetts.
Oh yeah,
it's crazy.
I mean, Barstool.
They always go
coming in
Leggetts
last
Osprey.
summer.
Leggetts Osprey. I get that all the time. Like, oh, you're from Manasquan? Leggetts Osprey? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, the Olympics were great. I mean, anytime you get to watch, you know, America compete like that on the stage, but then, yeah, it was very sweet to beat Canada.
That was cool.
So we're 55 minutes in, Mike. You've got another 5 pages of us to walk through on the show run.
Yeah, I think we covered a lot. No, well, I think listen, what we wanted to talk about, I think we hit a lot of it today, Sean. To be honest with you, is what makes these towns special. I mean, that was something we want to talk about and why I wanted to join this, and that's kind of like where we started. And I feel like we hit on a lot of it. There's a lot of things that have been going on in the past couple months, I think, for the identity of both these small towns that I look forward to talking about more. You know, affordable housing, we talked about the last time I was here. Both towns are going through some water infrastructure issues, like water sewer infrastructure issues. That's a big thing. Boring as heck for most people to talk about, but really important.
Not boring when it's their bills.
Well, listen, yeah, it's really important. And then, guys, I just got to tell you something really exciting. Do you remember when we talked about base flood elevation? Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. And do you remember I told you that if the governor insisted on moving it in a lame duck, that we would work behind the scenes to get the legislature to overturn it? The Senate president introduced the bill yesterday to overturn the DEP's rule.
Nice.
I've had 2 meetings with the DEP commissioner, and I want to thank him, by the way, if anybody ever listens to this, because he's new, and I think he realized that we weren't coming at the issue ideologically aligned. And yet he gave me the time, and we talked to him, and I've had like 3 follow-up conversations, and there's senators involved, there's all these mayors involved. I really think it looks like this thing's going to get stopped, and we can actually put in something that makes way more sense.
That's amazing. So this is a Cheryl appointee.
Yeah.
Now, last time you were here, you said, "Oh, Mikey's going to win this thing."
Yeah.
You know, just because of the record and how it goes. The White House goes one way, and New Jersey goes the other way. I was hoping you were wrong. I'm going to hate myself for saying this, but so far she seems a little bit more moderate than Murphy was, or at least she pens that way. She doesn't come across as much as Murphy does.
No, and that's like I said again the last time I was here. The reason I supported her, aside from that she's like my wife's favorite candidate, was that I felt that way about her in Congress. She was more of a moderate than anyone else in the party that I could find. She's definitely reflecting that. She's got strong leadership, and I think that coming out of the gate, she's definitely more sane than the Murphy administration. I'll just say the fact that I could even remember I talked about, like, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get through to these people. You had asked, do you think that Cheryl would be different? And, you didn't know. But definitely they're listening. They're looking to make an impression. They're out. They're being vocal. So like, I'm so far, of course we'll see how it goes. But the argument that I made back then is still true today, which is that this is a Murphy policy. Yeah. So the biggest thing I'm saying to the Cheryl people is, you guys don't want to deal with this. Get rid of this. You guys got your own policies.
You've got an affordability agenda. Yeah. Like adding this base flood elevation will screw everybody's insurance. Like, yeah.
So luckily, I think we've got that moving in the right direction. So,
wow. And then talk about local pride. Saw Elliot today. I mentioned this earlier. Like the Rella's 5 years. 5 years in that building is a milestone to actually continue to have Rella's there. So I saw Frank, which we hope to have on soon. Mayor Brielle, Frank Caruso. We have the spaghetti dinner coming up in March 22nd, and Frank and his dad continue to contributes so much, and so I want to have him on.
We should have him on to talk about water and affordable housing. I mean, I won't. You know what we'll do? I won't tell him that that's what he's coming on to talk about, and we'll get him in here.
Good blindside. Yeah. No. And then this morning, Lenny's.
Oh my God, that was so much fun.
And you posted your pictures there.
That was so much fun.
You cut the ribbon, Brandon.
Have you guys met either of the brothers?
100%.
Yeah, so they're just like the coolest guys. Have you met
I was
them?
there this morning. I think I met one of their wives. I haven't met the brothers yet.
Oh, you're wearing the shirt. I didn't even see that.
Dude, I'm wearing the shirt.
Look at that.
So, I mean.
Did either of you get over there today?
Yes.
Twice.
How unbunbelievable is that vibe?
It's so cool.
I have been, first of all, like, I never go over the bridge. Lenny's has been like my one exception.
Yeah.
And it's not a bad drive to get over to Colonial Market, and you should still. It's a great place. But
though our space is bigger.
It's bigger, and I've been so excited about this for two reasons. One, ever since the Acme left, and Casey, we're going to have a couple minutes to talk about your experiences at the Acme and all your friends there. But ever since the Acme left, we've had a food desert, which sounds crazy because, again, I was in Virginia, 20 minutes to get to a grocery store. But it's different that, like, you come in, you catch a fish, you need a little bit of soy sauce, and now you've got to go to the ShopRite. Yeah. And I know, first world problems. It's a pain in the neck. Like, you don't want to cross 34 to go get soy sauce.
Parking alone in ShopRite.
Parking is awful. And so when we lost the Acme, we lost a very important thing in this town, and everybody hated CVS coming in there, right?
So it's funny you say first world problems because that's one way to look at it. I look at it from the business perspective, which is that I think we all knew that the opportunity was here, that the demand was here. And so it was like, come on, somebody capture this. Yeah. If you could just and how many people are like, I either need a seafood market or a bakery or a meat market or all this stuff, and he just brought it all together. They brought it all together and put it in one place. Pretty cool.
I've talked about in the past, like, importance of knowing your butcher. Right, and not like going to some big store where you don't know, and like, this meat's very red. Well, maybe they pump something into it, make it that red. Like, they've got a dry age thing there. Like, I know they work with like specific ranchers, and that's why I've always gone to Lenny's. I get all my Christmas roast there, fantastic. But you get into that Rite Aid space, and he posted at one point, Darren, his dad, passed away. Big guy in Point Pleasant for years. And I'd love to have him on because, like, his story has got to be amazing, right?
That's a great idea, actually. We could definitely get him on.
Oh, 100%. I mean, his social media is fantastic.
He's a great guy.
Like, watching him. But he said that building was actually, like, his dad's dream, right?
Yes. When we first met, he told me that whole story. And this is one of those things, though, where it's like to be able to be the mayor in situations like this is so cool because, they come to us and I don't think everybody around the table knew how special this was going to be. And I wasn't the only one. There were other council members there who knew, but like to be like, because they needed a few things for that building to get done.
Like what?
For the town, like they needed water access, they needed to get stormwater management stuff. They had to get some permits and stuff. And so they came to us saying, hey, are we going to be able to do this? And are you going to be able to help us out? And to be able to be in the position to be like, yes, absolutely. Yes, we will we'll figure it out because the town is going to be so happy about this.
So happy about it.
But, so fun, not a funny story, but Manasquan is this kind of town where everybody looks at Lenny's and everybody's really, really happy. And same thing, we talked about this with the recreation. There is this small group of people, though, who see this group of change, this change, not in a good way. And I only bring that up because I still face that, and Lenny's has faced that, believe it or not. Like, they even got some people who, wrote an anonymous letter saying, you guys are too young to be running a business. You shouldn't be here. We don't like your flashiness and that kind of stuff. And I only laugh because like Brandon and I were able to laugh about it. That I know exactly who wrote it because they've written anonymous letters about me before. But like, there's this little strain of the town that still pushes back against this stuff. And it's crazy to me because like Lenny's, like you look at something like Lenny's, you're like, how could you say that's a bad thing? And I'm so excited that they're here. But there are some people who are just still, that change kind of freaks them out.
Yeah. I couldn't believe everything they had going on in there. I had never been to Lenny's in Point Pleasant. So I just thought it was a regular butcher. When I walked in there, it's massive. Yep. They have everything. I do want to say, though, I love Mr. Prime, so let's keep that going, too, and open.
No, for sure. And I like that you have options, right? But the whole produce piece, like, I can walk there now. And that's the piece that was missing. Like I don't have to drive anywhere. I can just walk right there. I have a butcher that I trust. Now I've got Shore Fresh in there as well. I can literally, like today, I got a porterhouse, which I'm going to enjoy tonight. Sorry, Dr. Kapoor, I know I'm not supposed to be eating as much steak, but I'm going to have porterhouse tonight, and then I know that I also picked up cod from Shore Fresh because I'm going to do a miso cod for tomorrow. And like that was really smart. Not just because like it's convenient, but because he couldn't have filled that entire space. So doing a collab with Batch and Muller's and Shore Fresh was genius.
And every one of those has space in the basement for prep. That was actually why they bought the space, was that is duplicated on the floor below.
No kidding.
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a great use of that space, and what an asset for our town to have that. I did. Jen was telling me, she's like, "Oh yeah, someone was like, it's so expensive." I'm like, "So expensive?" Their prices. And by the way, I was thinking about this. I'm like, is it going to be more expensive in Manasquan than Point? The porterhouse was $21.99 a pound. That's exactly what it costs in Point Pleasant, and that was awesome.
I bought a $7 bacon, egg, and cheese today. That was amazing.
Yeah. The price is
just the $7 one.
And apparently, from what I understand, at like 6 in the morning, it's like $3.
No, yeah, they do beat
and
the
it
clock.
goes up. Yeah.
No, they do. You guys
didn't
haven't
know
heard
that,
this?
no.
It's great. They do beat the clock. It starts at 25 cents or something. And if you come like right when they first open, and then by 10 o'clock it's full price. Or something.
That's amazing. Well, we got the pork roll, egg, and cheese sub, which is to die for. You got a whole sub that's pork roll, egg, and cheese, and it feeds the family. And if you get like an actual like deli sub, it's like $16.
Yeah.
It's
I thought
it's
the prices
fully
were
loaded.
reasonable.
Yeah, it'll be interesting this summer. Obviously, they had a great grand opening, and I don't think this is I could never imagine this being a bad thing for our town. This is actually like one of those. I could understand if it was like Whole Foods moved in there.
Right.
I'd probably have a little bit more of an issue with that. But
Well, and
this
if you
is
remember that it was either Whole Foods or Trader Joe's that everyone was pushing to get in the Acme.
Yeah.
And look, that would have been okay.
Yeah.
But if I had to choose now compared to what I think we've got now, I would take what we got now.
100%. All right, guys. So what's the schedule? Another 164 days until we come back.
No, we're going to try and do weekly, right?
Yeah, we were going to try to do weekly. We got to figure out the equipment and the location and everything like that. But Mike, welcome aboard. This has been a great reboot. Anything else you guys want to say before we head out of here?
No, I'm excited to have this going again. Mike, I'm really excited to have you on board.
No, thank you guys for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Peace out.
She wanna